And welcome to everyone out there. This is Chris Wood here on the Blitz on Inside Lines Media, and excited to bring some of the team together that you hear on the microphone, but fortunately you don't get to see us very often, and now you have the proof why. We're audio only typically, but we thought it'd be kind of cool to come and have an opportunity to kind of just share some of the topics that are out there in the sporting world locally here currently, and kind of present our thoughts to those out there and let you see what we're thinking about some of the things that we had to be a little more diplomatic as we're broadcasting a game from one place or another. So first, let me take this opportunity to welcome in the eyes and ears, the ones who make Inside the Lines Media be successful in our broadcast. Starting on my left and the top is Chris Clark. Down at the bottom, we have Corbin Linkenfelter, and we have the young CG grad of the group, Adam Ross. For the record, there are three of us that are Center Grove grads, and I'm the oldest of those three. Chris is somewhere in the middle there, we'll say. And then Adam, he's still in diapers of the group. And then we have Corbin, who's representing the W known as Whiteland here in this broadcast as well. Gentlemen, welcome.
Great to be here.
Okay, I'm so to do it. Corbin, Adam. Exciting opportunity for us to do this. I'm glad to see, Adam, that you feel confident enough that you're able to do this just sitting there on your couch and not worrying about the dog. Or you got a dog? I don't know, actually. But
he's a very, very unfriendly English bulldog. I put him in the bedroom with Amanda. They're locked away for the rest of the night.
All right, so we don't have to worry about that. Corbin, you got your internet flying over there for you tonight, so. Don't say what company it is. We don't need any lawsuits. Trust me, for us. So, with all that in mind, gentlemen, here's how the rules are going to be played for this tonight, and our first edition of this, and kind of our trial and error tonight. What we'll do is I will throw a topic out there to you, and I will announce who gets to do it, and I'll tell you what order. You'll get your chance to give your 30-second statement, so to speak, and then after each person gives their 30-second give or take speech, then we'll open it up for just kind of a roundtable discussion for a couple minutes, and we'll go on to the next topic. And right now, I think we have 4 topics for the night. I'll probably have a 5th one before it's done, but make it about a half hour and be done. Sound good to everyone?
Sounds great.
All right, so our first topic, and we'll start with Chris, and then we'll go to Corbin and Adam in that order, is the IHSAA has 2 proposals. The first proposal that we're going to talk about of significance is, should there be a shot clock in high school basketball in the state of Indiana? Of course, some states already have implemented that. The state of Indiana has not to this point. There's not a lot of data out there that states that it should be, but it seems like a lot of people are calling for it. Is that because it's at all other levels, or is it because it really does change the game? What saith Chris?
I understand the push for it. All levels of basketball other than high school have a shot clock. At the higher levels, people want to see more action, more scoring. Personally, I have a little unique perspective of being a high school official in Indiana for 29 years. I don't see the need for a shot clock in high school basketball. In my experience, there have been very few games that I've officiated, and I've officiated literally over 1,000 basketball games that have ever needed a shot clock. Even teams that were deliberate on their offense, games were still exciting, and you still got to see a different style of play. We saw it some this year. With Steve Lynch was at Brownsburg. He was, they run a very deliberate offense, but they're always exciting to play and always exciting team to watch, even though there's scores a lot of times are in the 30s and 40s. Even when he was at Mount Vernon, it was the same way. I'm a big proponent in teaching the kids different things. The IHSAA has always been big on education-based athletics, and one way to teach education is to show there are different styles and ways you can play the game of basketball. And while I don't like it when a team just stands and holds the ball under their hip, that very rarely happens. And there are ways defensively to keep that from happening. And I think it's up to a coach to figure that out over the 32 minutes of a high school game.
Corbin?
Yeah, I agree with Chris on there is no need for Indiana high school basketball. I've been broadcasting basketball games for 10 years now, and I can't tell you one time when it's over a 30-second Also, I see the people who are saying, well, it's in every other level. You go to college, you have a shot clock. You go pro, shot clock. Well, high school basketball is a completely different game here in the state of Indiana. I believe that if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Adam?
All right, I'm going to mix it up. I think high school basketball in Indiana is dying, if not almost dead. It started with class basketball, the creation of that, in my opinion. And I think that it is time for something to be added to add some excitement and mix up a little bit of the game. And I think a change of pace. There was a number of games that we broadcast this year where, and I understand to Chris and Corbin's point too, there's different styles of basketball. But a number of games that we broadcast this year, you get to the fourth quarter, there's like 3 minutes left. And the team that's ahead, they're not holding the ball, but it's almost like they don't even know what to do with the ball in certain situations with 3 minutes left, whether to run the offense or to run the clock. And a number of times, even defensively, the defense didn't force the offense's hands. But I think adding the shot clock element would add a little bit of more – I don't know, initiative or control to the game to force the teams to take action. It would also, in my opinion, defensively, you get in that 2 minute situation. Then if you're up against a 30-second, 35-second shot clock, you can sit back defensively for a possession potentially and not play the foul game as early as you might want to. So I think it is something that could maybe reinvigorate high school basketball in Indiana. I think on the girls' side, it's been fantastic the last few years, but in boys basketball, I really think in particular that's where it could have a huge impact and kind of spark some new change of pace in the game.
I'll open it up for rebuttals and responses to all comments.
Adam, I don't disagree. I kind of think you're right that teams aren't quite sure what to do at the end of games. I think a lot of that too sometimes goes to in the summer, kids play games, right? They don't practice a lot. They play games. And Coach Wood knows that. He's got a lot of kids playing a lot of AAU games all summer or different kind of league games and showcase games where honestly, the results of those games aren't as important as how well you play. And so I think that carries over some into the high school game. And some of those showcase things, they do have shot clocks. Sometimes they don't. So there's a little different perspective there, but I'm a little old school in that yes, I think it would help in some endings of some games, but pressure defense always wins, right? So I like to see teams get after it. So like I said, I think it's going to come. Like if you ask my opinion, I think it's going to happen. I think there's going to be some real growing pains the first year or two as you train someone else sitting on the table, and people that don't like having table reviews or things like that. I think it's going to be a difficult adjustment the first couple of years because you're going to have to train people of when to reset it. Is it going to reset on every shot? Is it going to reset when it hits a rim like it does in other levels of basketball?
Yep.
And so I think that's going to be a growing pain that we also don't know. The other question is, are you going to run it at the JV level? Are you going to run it at the freshman level where you definitely aren't going to have enough people to run the table? So that'll be an interesting side effect, I think, of implementing the clock in general.
Corbin, any thoughts to what you've heard here?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I agree with Chris 100% on this. Finding the staff alone is hard to do for these games currently, and trying to add onto that and know the rules and be able to throughout the entire game, it's going to be a big learner. As Chris mentioned, I can remember there's been a few games where, in high school football, they were supposed to run the clock or start the play clock, and they didn't. And that was, I can't even tell how long it's been around in high school football. They've been forever. But, I think from a broadcaster standpoint, getting into these games is very difficult to call. And if we're working with 30-35-second shot clock, it's going to get even more difficult because we've already got the running clock. Bring in. Do you stop the running clock when the shot clock resets? If you got teams that are constantly having to work with 30 seconds to get a shot up, then it's going to extend these games longer than they need to be, and in turn, you're just going to have the kids not be having fun, which is what high school sports are all about. It's all about having fun.
I will say this point before we move on to the next topic. I mean, Adam, I guess first off, do you have a rebuttal after which you for people come back at you at?
No, and I don't totally disagree with Chris and Corbin. I see the influence that football and baseball have had in the state of Indiana at the high school level and how much they are growing. And basketball. I was a basketball player. It's my first love when it comes to sports, and I think it's a product of what Chris talked about with the AAU stuff, the summer select stuff. That it's kind of derailed high school basketball in Indiana a little bit. And I just think it's time for somewhat of a change to maybe try to respark the passion for it in the state.
Two thoughts that come to mind for me before we transition to our next topic is one, I think teams in southern Indiana, particularly southwestern Indiana, where Corbin, I know you've got some experiences down in the Lagodi area, the Bar Reeves, the North Davies. I mean, I've been to a basketball game where Lagodi and North Davies, the score at halftime was 6-4. And I literally saw them hold the ball for 4.5 minutes in the second quarter because they were content. And as much as that is historic and it's legendary, it's hard to watch as a fan, in my opinion. So that's a concern. The other thing I will say is I think the teams that are good defensive teams now with no shot clock are going to become stellar defensive teams once you put in the shot clock, because you're not going to have to play for 2 minutes or a minute and a half and have a team try to execute and wear you down throughout a game, because you're only going to have the ball for 30, 35, 40 seconds, whatever they make that shot clock in high school if they decided to go that route. So I from a defensive standpoint, I think it helps the game. And maybe that's not what they want to achieve. I think maybe they want to achieve more points and more excitement. And defense doesn't always bring excitement. It just means more success for a program long term. So I'll leave it at that.